Hello, welcome to Soulful Woman Club. I am Anthea Bergh, your host. I am a writer, poet, and teacher on all things spirituality, personal development, consciousness, mystical womanhood, healing, relationships, lovely stuff. And this is my first ever YouTube video. I have just launched my Substack publication to share my writing, offer writing workshops, poetry workshops, and connect with wonderful people out there who could use what I have to offer. So today we are going to be doing something fun. I've had this idea for a while to react to movies, some of my favorite movies, through a spiritual lens, the personal development lens. And movies are incredible entertainment, but for me, seeing them in this way also means that they're also soul food. So Legally Blonde is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. I've watched it way more times than I can even count. It is just the pick me up, the go get 'em energy when I need that. I have for a long time felt like Elle is an incredible there's so many life lessons to be gained from Legally Blonde and Elle Woods as a character, and so I'm so excited to react to some scenes from Legally Blonde today.
I think you should go with the red. It's the color of confidence.
I don't understand why you're completely disregarding your signature color.
He's proposing. I can't look like I would on any other date. This is the date. The night I'll always remember. I want to look special. Bridal. But not like I expect anything.
There's nothing I love more than a dumb blonde with daddy's plastic.
So you see, up until this point, Elle is, she's the film plays her into all of the stereotypes, right? The hyper feminine, the blonde, the opening scene is her with the nails and the makeup and the sorority house. And, they really play into all of that. And this is the first time where we actually see, actually, she's really sharp. Maybe she hasn't been given the encouragement, hasn't had the exposure, hasn't seen it. She hasn't had the breakthrough herself to explore more to herself at this point. She's definitely leaning into the Venus of herself, right? She's the Venus, but there's other aspects of her life where she maybe hasn't developed yet. She hasn't explored, she hasn't broken through to a new phase of herself, and this is the first phase where you usually see she's got this incredible intelligence.
Did you see this one? We just got it in yesterday.
Oh, is this low viscosity rayon with a half loop top stitching on the hem?
Absolutely. It's one of a kind.
It's impossible to use a half loop top stitching on low viscosity rayon. It would snag the fabric. And you didn't just get it in. I saw it in the June Vogue a year ago. So if you're trying to sell it to me for full price, you picked the wrong girl.
You see, she's so sharp, she's so intelligent, she's not going to be walked over, and yet, as we will see in the next scene, she is compromising herself in other ways.
It's so strange having such perfect days.
Breakup scene.
I mean, my family expects a lot from me.
Right.
I expect a lot from me. I plan on running for office someday.
And I fully support that, Warner. You know that, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's why I think it's time for us. Elle. Pooh Bear. I think we should break up.
With a smile on his face and everything.
What?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I think it's the right thing to do.
You're breaking up with me?
Psychopath.
I thought you were proposing.
Proposing? Elle. If I'm gonna be a senator, well, I need to marry a Jackie, not a Marilyn.
So you're breaking up with me because I'm too blonde?
You see, this scene, right? It's up until this point, and it still goes on a little bit further, but everybody, including Elle herself to some extent, has only valued her for her looks. I mean, you need a Jackie, not a Marilyn. And of course, Marilyn Monroe, was just sexualized. She was underestimated, and so is Elle. But I would even say that Elle underestimates herself at this point, and because she's kind of valued herself for her beauty and just that side of herself, she's got this man who just does the exact same thing and, is so like gaga and in love with him and doesn't see like what a pretentious prick, right? She hasn't like broken through that part of her own self-worth yet to actually be able to see that.
It's not entirely true.
Then what? My boobs are too big?
But I got to give her serious props for owning her emotions 100% instead of going silent. Instead of trying to save face, no saving face.
My family has 5 generations of senators. My brother's in the top 3 at Yale Law. And he just got engaged to a Vanderbilt, for Christ's sake.
Jeez, look at those values he has. And she thinks she would be happy with that. She thinks at this stage she would be happy, but she wouldn't have been.
It's not like I have a choice here, sweetheart.
See, that's bullshit.
Woods, Elle?
Okay, the girl has gotten into frickin' Harvard Law now. I wish I could find a scene before this where she arrives, because it is like it's honestly like the deepest meaning for me in this movie is in this section.
Social events, mixers, formals, clam bakes, trips to the Cape.
She shows up in all of her femininity and is just ridiculed and made fun of, right? I mean, there's that whole scene where she arrives, again, I wish I could find it, where, she's in the like full pink leather outfit and puts like the water for her dog and everyone's like, hey, check out Malibu Barbie. And like some people are like ridiculing her. Some people are like, just like, wow, like who the hell is this? Like almost like what a breath of fresh air, which I think is honestly like the biggest compliment that like I could receive and I could give somebody is what a breath of fresh air. And, sort of says this thing to herself, like, don't worry, like everybody's going to love you. I'll keep watching a little bit and then I've got a point to make about this like beginning piece of Elle Woods and Legally Blonde.
Themselves. Let's start with you.
So they all introduce it to themselves. They're very serious and PhDs and like all of that.
The March for Lesbians Against Drunk Driving.
Killer.
Thanks. Good time.
And then we get Elle Woods.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elle Woods, and this is Bruiser
This is
Woods.
Bruiser Woods.
And we're both Gemini
vegetarians.
I have a bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising from CULA, and I was a Zeta Lambda Nu sweetheart, president of my sorority Delta Nu, and last year I was homecoming queen.
This is the thing that like really strikes me about Elle Woods as like a spiritual teacher and like lesson that it like occurred to me watching this film a while ago that, like she arrives at Harvard, the whole outfit, she comes here and, has the incredible confidence, for these people to be like, what the F, right? And like you would be blind not to see that. But she has the most incredible lack of self-consciousness, the most incredible confidence, and kudos to her, is so in touch with like her own femininity. And of course that is what has been cultivated in her life. There's that scene in the beginning with her parents when she says she wants to go to Harvard. You can clearly see that they've cultivated like the Venus in her. It was such an interesting mirror, of how we can be so realized in one little pie slice of our life, one aspect of our personality, one aspect of our life, and for Elle, like, that is clearly like the confidence, the beauty, the just, again, like complete lack of self-consciousness, which some women work their whole lives towards achieving, and like some never do, right? Like that level that she embodies. And like I know that I was painfully self-conscious in my undergrad, and it took me years to be able to embody like my own femininity and womanhood and confidence and powerfulness, and not be so like freaked out and cringe that people are going to see me and what are they going to think and all of that, but literally years of working on myself. Whereas Elle has like realized this, right? But then, as we'll see in the next scene, how you can be so self-realized in one aspect and be compromising yourself in such a big way in another way.
It's an emergency.
Bad day.
You can't even imagine.
It's
hospital. I worked so hard to get into law school, all to get my boyfriend Warner back, and now he's engaged to this awful girl, Vivian. So it was all for nothing.
The goals are twisted.
I just wish I had never gone to Harvard. What am I supposed to do?
You were asking the wrong girl.
Rewatching this, like with this video in mind, I actually had such a like, whoa moment. And like maybe somebody else has noticed this before. I'm not taking ownership for this as an original thought, but like maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But Paulette, I just want to like rewind and like get her face into the screen. I never thought of her this way. I thought, I just thought of her as a character, like having watched this movie previously. Paulette for me is actually the like future Elle if she went down the path of Warner and just valuing herself for her beauty. I mean, like she's working in the nail salon. She has this sort of terrible relationship. The man steals her dog, like kicks her out, like cheats on her. She pours 8 years of loyalty into a relationship and it like didn't work out, right? And here she is like unable to actually speak up to the cute postman delivery guy who who's actually is the the positive masculine, the healthy masculine, right? But she's so low in her own worth that like she screws up every meeting. And like whether Elle realizes or not, this woman is like the mirror of like if she kept going down this path, like this is who she would have become, on some level.
Oh, shit. Could I have been any more goddamn spastic?
It's okay.
See, the self-talk is
Are
terrible.
you sure this Warner guy is like the one?
Definitely. I love him.
Well, if a girl like you can't hold on to her man, then there sure as hell isn't any hope for the rest of us. What are you waiting for?
But you see, you shouldn't have to hold on to a man.
Steal the bastard back.
I mean, I'm glad it lifts her up, but the priority is still... Greetings from Editing Anthea. Something just went completely wrong with the audio here. And it like, the context and everything was just blown out. So, your 5-second context, Elle has just been rejected once again by Warner, even after getting into law school, realizes like he's never going to see my value. He's never going to see how smart I am. And like, I'm going to show him now. And yeah, move on. Again, the confidence to go in the bunny outfit shop and still go to the laptop store in it, freaking hell. And she's met Emmett by this point, who again is the healthy masculine.
Don't ask.
Wasn't gonna.
You see, he doesn't ridicule her. He just accepts her as a whole package. I mean, he's enjoying this fight, but like, and she's like, I'm gonna prove these people wrong. And the thing is that I don't feel like this part of the movie is like her still trying to win Warner back. Like, I think it's like, I'm gonna show you people. And honestly, like, I don't think that's necessarily like the worst motivation. Hopefully it's not the only motivation that you have to better yourself. Like, I know people have this thing of like, oh, I'm going to show my father that I can make something of myself. But like, to be trapped in that for so long, like you always, like, there's never an upper ceiling, there's never a ceiling to that. Like you're always going to be like driven on that, because what is it driven on? Like lack of self-worth. But in the beginning, it's like, screw you people, like I'm not going to play into whatever bullshit you have around me. I'm going to show you that I'm way more than what you think.
With the hours set forth by the parents. So if we're sticking to past...
So you see, this scene for me is Elle finally like really like learning to value herself and enjoy what she's doing, rather than making it some dynamic between her, Warner, and Vivian, right? Like, there's that scene before where it's like, do you want a client that's malum ense or malum prohibitum or whatever the exact terminology is? And she says like the right answer, or she says, she gives an answer and then is like, at Vivian and Warner. And as you'll see here, like, she doesn't do that. Like, she's actually just experiencing it for herself for the first time without that dynamic. Oh my God, she brings Bruiser with. Oh my Lord. I actually wish people brought their dogs with the class during my studies. That would have been amazing. The pink resume.
Oh, and it's scented. I think it gives it a little something extra, don't you think?
You see what I absolutely love about this scene, and like it cuts off, but like of course Emmett comes and he like takes a sniff and he's like, oh, it smells good, right? Is this whole thing of like Julia Cameron, the amazing author and like creativity teacher, talks about like you don't have to be serious about the work, right? And I think like in this, very like old world, like corporate patriarchal structure, like that didn't exist, right? It's like, okay, you got to wear like the grey suit and you got to be serious and you can't have hobbies and, you can't cry and you can't have emotions and like, like that whole like shutting down energy and culture, right? And here Elle is like, coming from like the very much like the Venus, but almost like the disempowered Venus to some extent, right? Like, just valuing herself for like the feminine, the good looks. And I mean, though, again, like she did super well in her degree, like did a line of faux fur panties, like, like that takes serious effort. Like people in the fashion industry, like people who know how to sew, people, all of that, they're brilliant. Like, there's absolutely like no devaluing of that side of the world, right? But, this is more about Elle's journey, right? It's more about like what potential she had in her to grow, to grow more and like connect with like how she could do more good in the world and get in touch with that for herself. And she's got this like pink scented resume, right? And, like fine, it's still trying to fit in a little bit with like the black blazer and all of that. But, like I don't have to be not feminine to be a brilliant lawyer. And I think that, that honestly like misogynist, sexist little streak is still very much existent in society where women like Elle, right, and now I don't even want to say women like Elle, like many women, right, who have, who want to embrace being positive and smiley and colorful and, be blonde or be redhead or be whatever, and, like are not taken seriously because there's still this devaluing of the feminine, when actually what we should be valuing is the balance of it, right? Which is what I love about Elle. And what does it create? This remarkable person, right, who has a pink scented resume.
Callahan's firm is defending a murder trial. His caseload is so big, he's taking on first-year interns.
It's 1-4.
Me! Warner. Do you remember when we spent those?
See, I can't really approve of her methods.
Yeah, no.
But I can approve. I can approve the breakthrough.
Excuse me, I have some shopping to do.
I'm not really a big fan of like those sorts of confrontations and dynamics that, like playing like right into those again, even when she's like having the breakthrough about like her own brilliance. Like I think it's better just to move on and like stay silent, the Irish goodbye, the Irish silence, right? Like not continue to play into that. But again, I can't fault the breakthrough, like even in the scene where like, here it is, when she's like so happy about her own victory again, like she's not, she's in herself about that moment. Like she's not looking at Warren and Vivian. Of course, this is the scene where she honestly embodies like
you're in my way.
Being a brilliant lawyer, but not trying to be like everybody else, right? Like in the full pink outfit.
3.0.
Thank you, David.
And standing up to this man who like tried to take, control of her, tried to take advantage of her.
I'm sorry, maybe you didn't hear me.
You were fired. Counselors.
Right. I mean, he's another extension of this like toxic masculinity, right? Like of Warner. Okay, so she's going through little growing pains here with this
you arrived back
interview.
At the house, was your father there?
Not that
she's
I saw
using the
him, but like I said, I went straight upstairs to take a shower.
Okay. I was washing my hair.
And like, it's so easy to get discouraged in these moments, like these growing pains. Oh, don't we love Emmett? Emmett for me is, again, like drawing on Julia Cameron, is like what I would call a believing mirror. Like she's got this whole thing of like believing mirrors are people who mirror back to us our highest potential and our highest worth. Like at no point in the whole movie does he ever ridicule her. Does he ever like, go, like that kind of disdain, right? He never does that. Like, sure, he might not agree with her about everything. Sure, he's like unsure about where she's going with something, maybe, but like he's always been curious, and curious is an open energy, right? And, like he has always mirrored back to her own brilliance and her own cleverness. Like even in the beginning of the trial when she's like, Enrique's gay, he believes her, and he handles it, right? And here he is supporting her again. He's a believing mirror. So he's not just like, of course, like the romantic interest, the healthy masculine, but he's also like an example of these kinds of people. And sure, like she's got those like two friends from the sorority house, but like, like they support her, but they also like don't really get her. Like there's a scene earlier where like she's like trying to tell them about how much she's struggling at law school, and they're like, I'm getting married, and like they hang up the phone, and it's like, oh, okay, like friends, do a little better. So Emmett's an example of someone who actually sees her, right, and believes in her. Have a little faith. Exactly.
Went to the gym, got a perm, and came home.
Here's the moment.
Were you got
Sharpness switches on. You see, they all realize, and she realizes most importantly about herself and what is like her true capability. And again, I wish I'd been able to find that scene, but like earlier, like seeing that Emmett's on the screen, like when Callahan like tries to feel her up, and she's like, I'm quitting, like Emmett, I'm going. And she says like, I'm trying to be like something that I'm not. And he says to her, what if you're trying to be something that you are? All along this movie there's this peanut gallery of people, like well-meaning, like like her parents and the friends and the sorority sisters, and then of course like not well-meaning, like the people at Harvard, like the colleagues, like of course Callahan. Like it's so easy to like be going through a personal transformation and like let these voices derail you from that, right? And what I absolutely love about this movie is that sure, she struggles, but she's also got this incredible focus and doesn't give a fuck about what others are thinking. Like, not to say that we can always be so immune, but like it is a spiritual lesson, a lesson for all of us to not be derailed on our paths to becoming the people that we really are meant to be and are becoming, and looking for these believing mirrors, looking for people who will be curious and open, and again, like most importantly, believing in ourselves and proving to ourselves. And in all of this, of course, Elle breaks out of the she breaks through her own limited consciousness to realize that Warner is, what does she call him, a bonehead. But it took her to have a big transformation in herself to finally see that it's not something that somebody could just tell her, oh, he's a bonehead, like you shouldn't be with him. Like it's such a much bigger transformation. And of course we all have let people treat us terribly, and what does it really come back to is how we see ourselves. What a movie. Like, oh man, I hope that was super valuable for you, super fun for you. Like actually it was quite a journey even for me to like really like dig into this. If you would like to see more movies that for me to react to and talk about, I already have a a little list of some, but if you have any recommendations, I would love to check them out. If there's something that you enjoyed, please let me know in the comments below. And yes, please subscribe and read my new Substack, Soulful Women Club. I'm so happy to have you here. Love and light to you all.